The emotion of sex is the most powerful and driving of all human emotions. When this energy is harnessed and transmuted, this driving force maintains all of its power in that new direction.
Mr. Hill, I've always wanted this opportunity, a chance to discuss what is arguably the most controversial and perhaps misunderstood chapter of your work, The Mystery of Sex Transmutation. That title alone is deeply intriguing to a modern mind. For someone encountering this idea for the very first time today, in this era, how would you explain the principle?
An excellent question, Dr. Sinclair. And your use of the word misunderstood is quite astute. The matter is, in its essence, far simpler than the words have made it seem. You see, throughout all of history, we humans have had one primary driving force, an energy more potent, more persistent and creative than any other, the desire for sexual expression. It is the energy of life itself.
The energy of life. That's an interesting frame.
Indeed, because its entire purpose is to create. Now, this principle states that extraordinarily successful people, and by success I do not mean mere wealth, I mean great artists, inventors, charismatic leaders, those who reach the level of genius, they all do one thing in common, whether consciously or unconsciously. They learn to fully understand and harness this immense energy, this burning passion.
Harness it.
Yes, they do not allow this torrential force to be expended solely along its instinctual physical path. Instead, like a river engineer, they dig a new channel for it. They redirect it toward their great ambitions, their work, their art, whatever their calling may be. When this energy is rerouted, it is not lost. It is transmuted. It becomes stamina, boundless creativity, and a kind of potent personal magnetism that draws others to them. That is the core of it.
Thank you for that explanation. It was very clear. But, Mr. Hill, with all the respect I have for you and your work, I must say that for a modern reader, this chapter can feel very strange. Even, let me be blunt, problematic.
I am keen to understand why.
Well, you see, modern psychology, our entire understanding of mental health, warns us severely about the dangers of one thing in particular: suppression. Suppressing natural, powerful desires can lead to anxiety, obsession, depression, and other serious issues within the psyche. My question is, are you perhaps unintentionally promoting an idea that is outdated and potentially unhealthy? An idea that clashes with our entire contemporary understanding of the human mind and the importance of integrating all parts of ourselves. Is this, in the end, just a beautiful form of self-deception to give meaning to difficult, arduous work?
And I welcome that question, because it strikes at the very heart of the matter, the precise point where most people lose their way. You used the word suppression, and you are entirely correct in your assessment of its dangers. Modern psychology is not wrong on this count. Suppression is a destructive act, an act against one's own nature. It is akin to trying to cap a volcano with a lid. The result is only a larger, more devastating eruption down the line.
Exactly. So, how do you resolve that contradiction?
By observing reality. I did not invent these principles from my own imagination, Dr. Sinclair. I merely documented what I saw, what I observed in the lives of hundreds of the most successful people of my era. I was searching for a common thread, an invisible current that connected all of their great achievements.
And that invisible current was this principle?
It was one of the most significant.
I began to notice that these individuals, these captains of industry, these great artists, these powerful orators, they all shared a particular quality, a vital force, an inner fire and enthusiasm that was rarely seen in the average person. They possessed a kind of personal magnetism that words fail to fully capture.
Charisma.
It's more than charisma. Charisma can often be learned, a cultivated skill. This was something deeper, an energy that radiated from their eyes, from the tone of their voice, from the very way they carried themselves. When they walked into a room, you simply couldn't ignore them. Not because of expensive clothes or a loud voice, but because of this palpable energy. And so I began to investigate. Where does this energy come from?
And what did you conclude?
I discovered that this immense force was a refined form of that same potent energy of life, sexual energy. These individuals, consciously or not, had learned how to take this tremendous power and apply it in other directions, rather than simply letting it dissipate. I studied the biographies of great poets, authors, and world leaders. I noticed that their greatest masterpieces, those explosive periods of creative output that shaped our culture, often occurred after the age of 40 or even 50.
An age when that physical drive is typically considered to be in decline. That's a fascinating observation.
Precisely. The very age when an individual has reached emotional and mental maturity. When they have learned how to harness this torrential force, focusing it on a single great objective instead of scattering it. They used this fuel for the late nights, for the unwavering concentration, for the relentless drive to create. It gave them a stamina that was unimaginable to the ordinary person.
So, what you're proposing is that it's a kind of biological fuel for genius.
That is the most astute phrasing I have ever heard. Yes, a biological fuel. You see it in the master salesman as well. The average salesman sells a product, but the master salesman sells his own conviction, his enthusiasm. They use this very energy to build rapport, to persuade, to transfer emotion. It is not just a tool, Dr. Sinclair. It is the powerhouse itself. This was my observation. It was not a theory. It was a recurring pattern in the real world.
The pattern you describe is powerful. I can see that. That inner energy fueling genius and charisma. It's a compelling idea, but I'm still caught on that central concern. For the average person, how does one ensure that this act of harnessing doesn't just slide into that destructive suppression? Where exactly is the line drawn? Because it feels like a very slippery slope.
And with that question, you have placed your finger on the very fulcrum on which this entire principle pivots. It is the point where the true wisdom is hidden. Let me return to your very precise word, suppression. I say again, your analysis of its dangers is entirely correct. Suppression is denial. It is pushing down on a powerful spring. The only possible result is that the spring will eventually fly back with greater and more uncontrollable force. It leads to the very psychological damage you rightly fear.
So, what is the alternative?
The alternative lies in a different word, the word I have been using, transmutation. The two, suppression and transmutation, are not related. They are not siblings, Doctor. They are opposites. They are enemies.
Please explain that further.
I will. Imagine this sexual energy, this life force, is a magnificent, raging river, full of power, full of potential. Modern psychology, which you so ably represent, correctly warns us, do not build a dam in front of this river, because that dam,
no matter how strong it seems, cannot withstand the pressure of millions of gallons of water forever. Eventually, it will crack, it will break, and it will unleash a destructive flood that will wipe out every village and city in its path. That, Dr. Sinclair, is the perfect definition of suppression.
A very vivid metaphor.
And now for the second part. A wise engineer, a conscious mind, never tries to stop the river. They respect its power. Instead, they come alongside the river and dig a deep, calculated channel. By doing so, they divert a portion of that powerful current and guide it toward a powerhouse where massive turbines are waiting. The water, with all of its original force, crashes against those turbines and generates electricity. It lights up a city. It powers factories. It creates life. The river still flows, but now its power is no longer destructive. It is constructive. That, Dr. Sinclair, is the definition of transmutation.
Ah, wow. So this isn't about fighting the force at all. It's not about denying it or shutting it off. It's about building an intelligent system to leverage it, a conscious, deliberate channeling. This is a critical distinction, absolutely critical. You're not saying to turn the energy off, you're saying to give it a more productive channel. That changes the entire paradigm. Suppression is working against the force. Transmutation is working with it.
Precisely. You have just grasped the hidden wisdom of the principle.
That was a genuine breakthrough. It truly was. The distinction between building a dam and digging a channel holds the key. It reframes the entire principle from something that feels archaic and problematic to a sophisticated psychological strategy. But this raises a new challenge, one that is unique to our time.
I am listening.
Mr. Hill, the world we live in today is fundamentally different from the one in which you observed these patterns. You speak of digging a, quote, deep and calculated channel. That requires focus, willpower, a certain quietude of mind. But the modern world, it seems specifically engineered to prevent that very thing.
In what way?
We live in an ocean of distraction, a constant bombardment of information. The endless notifications on our devices, the social media feeds with algorithms designed specifically to provoke our strongest emotional reactions, be it outrage, joy, or envy. We have a culture of instant gratification that makes the patience required for a grand achievement feel almost impossible. To use your powerful metaphor, it feels as though 1,000 entities are constantly drilling tiny holes in the banks of our river of energy, draining its power drop by drop 24 hours a day. In such an environment, how can a person even begin to think about building one great, focused channel? How can they possibly patch the 1,000 leaks long enough for the water to even reach the turbiline?
You are describing new instruments, Dr. Sinclair, not a new type of human being. The nature of man and his inner energies has not changed. Only the tools for squandering that energy have grown more complex and more seductive.
So you believe the principle still holds?
More than ever. In my time, a person might have wasted that powerful emotional energy on idle gossip or needless worry about a neighbor's affairs or on nursing an old grudge. Those were the leaks of that era. Today, that same person discharges that same energy, that same passion and excitement into the comments section of a news website, into a pointless political argument with a stranger they will never meet, or into hours of watching short, fleeting videos that train the brain to crave only tiny, addictive hits of pleasure. The powerhouse is still there.
The river still flows with the same force. But you, modern people, you have become masters at creating small, shallow swamps all around it. Every spark of excitement, every flare of anger, every whisper of passion that could have been a brick in the wall of your masterpiece or an hour of deep focus to solve a great problem is now sinking into these swamps of distraction and silently evaporating. Your challenge today is perhaps even greater than the challenge of my time, because your enemy, these leaks, are far more invisible, more accessible, and more seductive. They disguise themselves as connection and entertainment.
So, faced with this seductive enemy, these swamps of distraction that you've described so vividly, what is the first practical step a person can take? What is the first brick they should lay to begin building that channel? Where does one even start in the middle of all this modern noise?
It begins with a conscious, simple, in-the-moment practice, a new mental habit that must be built. Starting today, from this very moment, the next time you feel a powerful wave of emotion rise within you, be it the elation from good news, the anger from an injustice, the passion for a new idea, anything that makes your heart race and the blood pulse in your veins,
Which, in today's world, happens almost every moment.
precisely, which means you have access to this fuel at almost every moment. Now, in that peak moment of emotion, take one conscious pause. Just for a second. Your first instinct will be for immediate reactive discharge. You will want to grab your phone and shout it into the social ether, call someone to complain, or simply get lost in your own thoughts, ruminating on it over and over.
Which is what we all do.
Yes, and it is how you burn your most valuable fuel in thin air. The practice is this: resist that instinct, and immediately, I stress immediately, take that raw, potent energy and redirect it toward your single most important creative or professional task. Use that emotional surge as the propellant to start or advance the one thing that truly matters to you.
Can you give me an example?
Certainly. Are you furious about something you just read online? Excellent. Instead of typing a scathing reply, open the document for that business report you've been procrastinating on and write 3 powerful paragraphs. Are you ecstatic about a new venture? Wonderful. Instead of just daydreaming about it, grab a pen and paper that very second and spend the first 10 minutes outlining the action plan. Use that emotion as jet fuel for just 10 or 15 minutes of deep, focused work. That is your first brick. You are teaching your mind that there is a new, more productive path for its energy.
So, all this time, we've been looking at this principle from the wrong angle. We thought it was about austerity, about restriction, about shutting down our inner power, when it's not about that at all. It's the complete opposite. With this understanding, this principle isn't about closing a powerful valve. It's about connecting that valve to a jet engine. This energy is the raw fuel of genius, and its transmutation is the art of mental alchemy that can turn passion into a masterpiece and fleeting excitement into a lasting legacy. We aren't ignorant of our most powerful inner force. Perhaps we've just forgotten how to use it to fly.